Hello and welcome to another New Catholic Generation TV review for the young Pope. Probably our most requested thing to review over the past couple months.
Yup.
We originally reviewed the trailer back in last October, and the series was first released in Europe. It wasn't released in the United States until January, so we couldn't watch it then, but we got a lot of Europeans saying, it's really good, you guys should watch it. And then come January, a lot of us had very busy schedules with school, but we are finally reviewing it.
Yeah.
So I am David from Catholic Contrast, joined by Joseph, the Catholic Apologist, Ned from Parables of the Film Ministry, and filling in for Renee, because she is so busy this semester, is Madison. So the first season of The Young Pope is 10 episodes, which would be a lot of material to discuss all in one panel. So we're going to review the series 2 episodes at a time. So we've watched now the first 2 episodes, and we are ready to discuss our reactions.
Boy. Oh, big boy. It's a very interesting show. That's for sure. And so far, not really bad interesting. The art style is very surrealistic.
Yeah, so I guess to set the stage, it is an Italian production directed by a famous Italian director, Paolo Sorrentino, and it centers around the character of Pope Pius XIII, also known as Lenny, who was mysteriously elected to be Pope. He's an American, and he's young. He's only like 50 years...
Something.
Yeah, 40-something.
46, I think.
Which is, I mean, there were popes that were younger than that back in the day, but recently popes have all been much older. So he is relatively inexperienced in all the inner political workings of the Vatican, but very quickly he's trying to figure all of it out. And all of the political players in the Vatican are also trying to figure him out.
Yeah.
And he's not easy to figure out.
No, he's not. No,
Oh my
he is very hard to figure out. But that kind of makes him like very interesting.
Yeah. I think it's kind of easy for him because you get the sense of what they're doing, that for his entire, he was an orphan, he didn't know his parents.
Yeah.
So it's become a habit for him to shut off other people loving him and getting to know him.
Yeah.
So when he gets into the papacy and he's trying to do that for political reasons, it's very easy for him to just go, boom, I'm going to be a complete wild card and you never know what I'm thinking.
Exactly.
Because there's originally, they set up a character, Cardinal Voyo, which they imply pulled the strings behind the scenes to get Lenny elected Pope in the first place. And sort of shafting this other guy.
I was supposed to be Pope.
And he has the intention of, oh, this guy will be really easy to manipulate.
Right.
But instead, when he invites him in, he starts sassing everybody.
Oh my
Ned
God.
described him as Pope Sass the First.
Yeah, Pope Sass the First. Like, seriously. Jude Law just does a perfect job of making this Pope so sassy. It is beautiful in some of the scenes. Yeah.
I mean, Madison, what do you think of his Cherry Coke Zero diet?
I don't think he could keep up very long on that.
No.
Although I know that his diet, which is, he's just like, I don't eat very much. I know Joe had a comment about that when we watched it.
So in case you didn't happen to notice with this all the time when I talk, I am Italian. I grew up with it. My mom is half Italian. My dad has Italian as well. Both sides of the family have Italian. I'm used to Italians. When you see those memes on Facebook that say, here, have a quick snack, and there are those tables full of food, there's not much exaggeration there. It's pretty true. I mean, me being as skinny as I am, whenever I see an Italian relative, it's, you need to fatten up. That's so very Italian. So in the middle of that scene, I love that scene particularly because it's just like, oh, what does the Holy Father eat? He just has a very low diet. He only Diet Coke or something like that. And the Cardinal's like, that is not a good sign. I was like, that's the most realistic thing in this movie.
Are you ready for your snack, Your Holiness?
My snack?
Yeah, that's also a very funny scene because at his Pope desk, this Cardinal Voyo tells him there's a little button on the bottom that whenever you're sick of whoever you're talking to, you can just press it, and this nun will come in and make up some excuse to get them out. And so when he actually uses the button, a nun comes in and is like, it's time for your snack.
my snack. Uh-huh.
And it's just
Is
like,
that what we're calling it?
Oh my gosh.
But in actuality, for Italians, that means like what you'd consider all 3 meals in the day combined.
Oh yes.
So
One thing I would like to try and get out of the way about the show, for a lot of American audiences, it is pretty easy to follow for the most part, but I read a few reviews ahead of time that a lot of Americans didn't like it because, like, in their eyes, it was a little bit hard to follow. They said that the art style was a little bit weird and a whole bunch of stuff and whatnot. I'm watching it, and of course, whenever I watch like strange things, I feel like a kid in a candy store because I'm just like, oh, I know what that style of film is. So, just to go ahead and basically give you a brief description of the kind of art style it is Surrealist cinema. And Surrealist cinema is a modernist approach to film theory, criticism, and production with origins in Paris in the 1920s. The movement used shocking, irrational, or absurd imagery and Freudian dream symbolism to challenge the traditional function of art to represent reality. Surrealist cinema is characterized by juxtapositions, the rejection of dramatic psychology, and a frequent use of shocking imagery.
or shocking language. Yeah, oh yeah. So like the first 5 minutes of the first episode, you have Pope Pius coming out of this like pile of babies.
Yeah, and of course we're just
that's
like,
right.
of course we're just like, the hell? What the heck?
It's very uncomfortable with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, really uncomfortable.
And then he delivers his opening speech.
Oh yeah.
Which is very clearly intended to troll the audience.
Basically, he says, oh, it's okay for priests to get married, and it's okay
Abortion.
for
Abortion, birth control, basically everything.
Yeah, basically everything that is wrong.
I actually laughed.
I mean,
I
yeah.
thought it became
Well, yeah, you
funny
were like,
after a while.
I actually do have our reaction to that scene filmed, so I can show the reaction.
Oh my gosh.
We have forgotten to masturbate.
What? All right, well, here we go.
To allow priests to love each other and even to get married. We have forgotten
I love how the whole church is like, no!
divorce.
That would be a real
Let
reaction.
none say mass. Not only have we forgotten to play, we have forgotten to be happy.
What the hell? It's a dream. Okay. Makes far more sense.
It's dreams. Oh, okay. We're like, hey,
I was waiting for like, what was the point of this?
Yeah.
It was honestly a very comedic scene. I
Yes.
mean, it's a scene that makes a lot of people worried, but then later on it's like, oh, it's a fake one. It's a fake scene. We're like, oh,
Yeah.
okay, thank God. But yeah, in reality it was kind of funny because we
It
just...
definitely asks you,
Yeah.
are you paying attention?
And
Yes.
I mean, considering what his address ended up being, is
Like the real
basically
one,
like,
yeah.
he said he
Yeah.
dreamed about, his address and basically kind of like that, portraying that kind of like as a nightmare. And then he gets up there, he just goes too far and does the exact opposite.
He does literally the opposite.
Yeah.
the other extreme of it. Point being,
Yeah.
it does connect together. The problem that we're kind of running into, look, if you were to judge the first two shows as
Episodes.
this is all there is,
Yeah.
then there's no way on earth you'd recommend watching this. Not only is the story incomplete, but there are a lot of things that if you would leave them as they are and say, oh, this is kind of like okay, then there would be a problem.
Yeah.
The thing is, like, since it's only 2 episodes in, we need to continue to see.
Yeah, we can't really...
We can't judge exactly what the message is, exactly what the moral.
But there are a lot of very interesting lines that do happen in the first 2 episodes. There's one where Cardinal Voyo is first realizing just how erratic Pope Pius is, and he's talking to this other priest like, all right, I want you to dig up some dirt on him. And he says he wants to know this because humans don't change like God. He says humans will commit the same sins in the future. What did you guys think of that line?
I agree and disagree with that line. I agree to a certain extent because depending on how you follow up with trying to take care of your sin, yes, you will go ahead and repeat the same mistakes. But if you are very, true in wanting to take care of your sins and really actually try to take care of them, you won't repeat them again. But, I mean, maybe. You'll be tempted. You'll be tempted many times to want to commit those sins again. But I think eventually you will eventually be able to gain the willpower to just go ahead and say no.
Yeah, I think it depends on what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Because if you're talking about the entirety of the human race, on a general basis, people in certain circumstances will generally end up committing the same sins. Like,
Yes.
I argued with my parents, or I did, kind of a general line of thought. And that's kind of like, we kind of see, he's kind of trying to apply this generalization where just like, on a normal basis, you can predict like this person's kind of do this. But with the Pope, it's just like, it ends up being something completely different. He's acting completely different.
Yeah.
I think I understand if he's talking on a general basis, like when you see humanity. I mean, that's kind of one of the reasons the devil can be so successful in our everyday life, is because he's been observing humanity for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. So he knows a lot of the things that work and don't work to tempt people, depending on what their situation is in life. And a lot of the times, if people are not closer to God, we have an instinct to find something else to fill our hearts with that's not God. And sometimes that can be reverting back to can be trying to adopt animalistic instincts and stuff like that. Animals are very predictable.
Quick question.
Yeah.
His final address to the people when he's like, don't look at each other, look at God. Do you think that would kind of support your statement? And if we're really focusing on God, we're not looking for other people to fill our lives.
Well, I don't think it completely, because in actuality, we're not supposed to completely ignore everybody else in our lives.
No.
Other people can lead us closer to God, and that's what he's not understanding, because he's blocked out love and everything throughout his life, and he doesn't understand that. So the thing we have to remember, we have to almost have in a way, a hierarchy as far as who is most important in our lives. So God is the most important person in our lives. That doesn't mean people aren't important. People are important, and we should love and respect them for them, not merely as instruments to bring us closer to God, because then we're almost in a way objectifying them if that's all they are. But they can lead us closer to God. Therefore, that makes them not only kind of like a moral neutral, but also even better and even greater good. But again, he's not quite understanding that because of where he was in his life and not understanding love.
What was up with the laser pointer?
The guy was trying to see the Pope. And
we should maybe explain the scene. So the Pope Lenny, when he's talking to the media director, she's like, "Oh, we're going to sell all this stuff with all your image," and he's like, "Nah."
Yeah.
Well, it's like I'm not anything great. It's like God is the focus. I speak,
Right.
And I thought that was a really cool point. I don't know the way
that was cool, and
Yeah.
you could tell that he's missing a little bit of something, because he's saying he is absolutely nothing, which you have to be careful with it,
right?
Because in reality, compared to the Almighty God, we look like nothing. I like to compare it to if you ever see those videos with the planets and how we have giant suns come next to the Earth. The Earth looks like absolutely nothing compared to how big these suns are. But that doesn't make the Earth literally nothing. The Earth is so beautiful and so unique, and it's the only planet that we know of that holds life. So I like to kind of compare it to that. So it's just God is the biggest, most incredible, all-powerful being. But that doesn't mean we're absolutely nothing. God doesn't make junk,
Right.
So but that's the part he's not understanding because of where he is in his life.
Gotcha.
But
And so when he comes out to deliver his speech, he's like, "Don't light me so that you literally can't see me, that I'm just a silhouette."
Yeah.
And so he does it at night. He's just a shadow, and all the photographers trying to see him. And one guy calls out, "We want to see you!" And he's like, "How dare you disrespect me!"
Yeah. And then they have a
Like a little
laser
pointer.
Yeah. So the guy can try and see him and whatnot. So.
Well, I mean, you can't see anybody with a laser.
I'd actually be surprised.
It reminded me, really.
Yeah, no, you'd be surprised.
It reminded me of that commercial. I think it was a Super Bowl commercial 7-10 years ago.
All right, if we look to the other sectors that we can... Okay, come on, guys.
So, although we haven't seen the whole season yet, in fact, we've only seen a fifth of it, what did the first fifth of the season give the impression to you as to where it's going?
How about I say where I hope it's going?
Yeah.
I truly hope that Pope Pius XIII does wind up really trying to find himself, because he seems to be doing a lot of things that Catholics would actually admire in some way. But he's like so far in the other direction that it's wrong. He's doing things right, but unfortunately it's muddled in his sense of he doesn't know what love is. And what I really hope is that he is able to find that love, so that way he can basically fix this big kerfuffle that he's actually making right now.
The other fear that I would have was that he would like come to be like, oh, finding that love, and then accidentally go too far.
Go in the other direction.
Like too far, you know.
Yeah.
That would be a worry. I mean, the other thing that like kind of makes me uncomfortable with this is, I understand there's a style, but they're putting that style as far as like, they're putting a lot of political emphasis on in the church. Now, this seems to be like a parallel universe type thing.
Yeah.
Still, it makes me very nervous that they're putting so much like, there's so much politics in the church and none of it's really guided by the Holy Spirit. It's all politics, making it really seem like that. And that is really uncomfortable. So I don't know what to think about that part now.
Well, what was the way that you described it, David? It was...
Oh, yeah, like Mr. Smith Goes to Washington.
Yes. Which, of course, that's political on its own. But I think... I'm hoping this does get fixed too, because I think it is a little bit important to kind of see some of the politics behind the Catholic Church. But the problem is you need to include faith within the politics. And that does seem to be missing.
Yeah, they're not doing nearly enough.
No. It's more political than faith-filled. And what they need is... And who knows? Maybe that's actually a really good point so far. They're focusing so much on the political side that... I mean, once again, this is hope that this happens, that they're focusing so much on the political side that eventually they will find the faith side to intermingle with the political side.
Right. Yeah, that's definitely hoping for it.
I think it's very interesting, too, that in the first two episodes, we have not seen one depiction of the Mass yet.
That is very interesting.
True.
I mean, it could have been about a royal family. This whole season so far. Like, I don't really get the feeling that this is the
Catholic.
church.
Yeah.
Like, the nuns don't really feel like nuns, to be honest.
Except for that soccer ball scene.
Yeah,
that was good. I like that.
Yeah. But there was one scene where I think it was like at the beginning of the second episode where it shows a bunch of nuns like so happy and they're playing soccer together. I thought that was like really cute because there is like in secular society there's a little bit like too much stereotyping towards Christians in general, but especially towards Catholics, where like they're so serious and blah blah blah. And it's just like, well, are you kidding? There's a bunch of nuns playing soccer over there.
Yeah.
Heck, I went to a youth ministry event in it was in Maine. That was called Journey. And there was a nun who was playing bass, and she was like rocking out and everything. So Catholics are not like the stuck-up serious people I'd like to think that they are.
Like when I went to World Youth Day, I saw a priest breakdancing in his cassock. And nuns, they had a whole dance battle. It was pretty cool. So, the church can be real.
Hey, the priestly discernment program over here at Franciscan has a football game every fall semester, and there's some former members of it, like seminarians, come over and play. So I played football with some seminarians.
Or...
Tackle.
Yeah. Okay.
So that is one nice little thing that I can at least pick up from the few things I do like so far. That shows that Catholics are not like totally like stuck up people. And
right, because I feel like it's something that people don't get a lot is that a big important virtue in Catholicism is prudence.
Exactly.
So like you don't have to always be like, you have to be, sometimes you have to be stern, sometimes you have to, every now and then, on a rare occasion, you have to flip a table. I mean, Jesus did it. We're supposed to follow an example. There are rare occasions where you have to do that. But, there's a time and a place for everything.
Right.
The stereotype is kind of, it's faith-based.
The direction I see the show is very interesting because initially I sort of saw the setting up of the characters as the Pope is the protagonist and Cardinal Voyo is the antagonist. But then, and Cardinal Voyo has very messed up attitudes towards a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
But as the show goes on, in the second episode, you see the Pope starting to cast off even his friends and really start to do things wrong as well. And the very ending of the second episode has Cardinal Voyo with his disabled person that he's ministering to saying, I am so sorry for the bad things I'm going to have to do to save the church.
Yeah.
And yeah, there are very wrong things with both of their
Yeah.
attitudes. So what I'm interested to see is, are they going to approach this as showing the problems with both extremes, essentially? And maybe the
That would
characters
be
both coming towards the middle.
Yeah.
But again, we'll have to wait and see. So
Yeah.
I hope you join us again for our next discussion when we discuss episodes 3 and 4. Thanks for watching.
Very well.